Thank you, Chair. Beiersdorf is excused. De Lorenzo is excused. Hanley.
Present.
Ingraham.
Here.
Jacobs is excused. Samursky.
Here.
And Wallach.
Here. Thank you. First item is to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Would you like to call roll?
Yep. Hanley.
Approve.
Ingraham.
Approve.
Samursky.
Approve.
And Wallach.
Approve. All right. Next is we need the approval of 3 sets of agenda or minutes. The first is from the 2023 joint meeting. The second is from our June 2024 meeting, and then the third is from our most recent 2024 joint meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I move we approve all 3 minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Would you like to take roll?
Yep. Hanley.
Approve.
Ingraham.
Approve.
Samursky.
Approve.
And Wallach.
Approve. All right. And if I'm correct, we have no citizens wishing to talk about anything?
Correct. And we have no special matters tonight either.
Let's move on to the business item.
All right, business item A is kind of a housekeeping item. So all of our other boards and commissions will be moving to a 6 p.m. meeting start time. So we're shifting everything by half an hour in 2025. And we are here to ask if the park board would like to do the same or has any issues with that. That is the preferred time for the staff and boards in 2025. So turn it back to you, Chair, if there's any discussion or a motion.
Is there any reason for the change?
Mostly for staff, like IT's got to be here all night, and I would say the council meeting went till 11:15 on Monday, so just for people to get home earlier. Some of the meetings are quite long.
Sounds good.
Does anyone have any thoughts or feelings about it?
I personally don't have any problem getting here by 6, but I'm retired, so I shouldn't have any problems.
Haven't heard from any other board members that they have an issue with this, those that couldn't attend. So.
Okay. Cool. We need approval for this, so if anybody would like to make a motion to approve the 6 p.m. start time.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay. Call roll.
All right, Hanley.
Approve.
Ingraham.
Approve.
Samursky.
Approve.
And Wallach.
Approve.
All right, thank you.
Next is the Shady Oak Beach season summary.
Yep, I will introduce Chandra Vela. She's our program and membership manager. She's been with us full-time since last spring, so works full-time at Williston in the winter time and has taken over the beach management in the summer. So quite busy with 10,000 members at Williston and a busy beach. So I will turn it over to Chandra. She's going to give a summary of this past beach season, so I'll pull up a presentation here as well.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Shady Oak Beach season runs June 8th to August 18th. We had a great season. I would say the only downside, we typically open up when the season ends. So we do a few days of cleanup and then we open up to the public for free access with no lifeguards, no concessions. But you get the beachfront in the park, but there was, just as we closed, E. coli did pop up. So we had to close for the remainder until Labor Day. So we would have typically stayed open, but the numbers due to all the rain just kept getting worse. This season, we did have 64 part-time staff with us. There were at least 90 applicants, probably more. We had 22 new hires and 42 returners. The returning staff did receive a 3.3% increase in their hourly wage, which I think did also help returners want to come back this season. Between all the positions, We have 2 facility supervisors, head lifeguards, shift leads, concession attendants, gate attendants, and we run, that 10-week season. In between all those positions, the staff worked a total of 13,500 hours. A lot of staff want 40 hours a week. They enjoy being there. They're happy to work. Let's see. Shady Oak Beach staff worked a total of 1,227 hours dedicated to preseason trainings. So here's some of our current, during the season trainings, you'll see it says they're practicing for a missing person. Because if there's a person that's missing, we don't know if they're in the water or if they're just in the bathroom. But the goal for the lifeguards is to get there as fast as they can, and they want to be able to respond promptly. So we do trainings almost weekly with the lifeguards and bi-weekly with the entire staff. So the entire staff know how to respond. So concessions know how to shut down. They start looking, gate closes everything. So there's a whole routine and they're great at it. And they don't hesitate to jump in and start helping and looking in any situation. We do have the Wibbit obstacle course, and this year we were able to open it almost daily, and it's due to lifeguards. So if we have enough lifeguards, we can open it because we do need that guarded. And this year we did have a full staff of lifeguards, whereas last year we were only able to operate maybe 1 to 3 days per week. Occasionally, if the beach is too busy and we have to pull lifeguards to watch the rest of the water, maybe we won't do Wibbits. But with it only being from 1 to 5 p.m., we typically can get that in. So that's a big attraction for people to come to the beach. Not many other places offer something like this. With concessions this year, we did have an increase of 19.4% in sales, up from 2023. So some of that helped because we stayed consistently stocked. We did create meal deals, which were very big, and where we did a slight increase to prices, which maybe was like 25 cents, 50 cents, nothing big. We do partner with 2 local vendors. You'll see we have Freesiac, which is a frozen yogurt. They're located in Eden Prairie. And we are with Boba Tonka, and they are in Minnetonka, and those are very popular items that run out constantly. Some new items we did was pizza by the slice and barbecue pulled pork sandwiches. So we got some good reviews from all of that. We do have a Hennepin County Lifeguard Services grant. So that's for our lifeguards. So we partner with 3 other surrounding cities, St. Louis Park, Crystal, and New Hope. And we get $9,652 per year that we can use towards recruiting, training, equipment costs. And we will also receive this grant in 2025 as well. One of our summer highlights, it was the 2nd annual Lifeguard Olympics, and Shady Oak Beach took 2nd place this year. Last year they took 1st place, and that was their first year. There was just a couple cities, and now there were a number of cities, so to still be in top 3 meant a lot, and I think that's due to a lot of our training that we do weekly. So they're used to these intense scenarios. So they're evaluated on their skills, their teamwork, their lifeguard knowledge in emergency situations. And again, they go against surrounding cities, so it was much bigger this year. So they're very excited. They love going and competing and take a lot of pride in it. Here are our numbers from this year with our operations. We have our season passes revenue. You'll see in each category we have increased. So in 2024 we were at $55,078. Concessions revenue, you'll see the big jump from 2023 to 2024. We're at $69,212. And our rentals, so we have paddleboards, kayaks, canoes, we're at $5,244. Any comments, questions, concerns?
First, I just want to say thank you for doing this, and thank you for taking care of Shady Oak. I know tons of people love going there. My family does. I think it's really cool that you guys had so many people apply. Are those mostly like high school students who apply? Or
It's high school and college.
Okay.
Yeah. Once they kind of finish college, they kind of phase out and go on to their full-time positions.
Sure.
But the returners are returners that have been there for 3-4 years, and they want to keep coming back.
Yeah, that's awesome. And did you guys do anything different for recruitment this year? Because it seems like in the past years you maybe had struggled to get people in, but this year it seems like you had a lot of people.
I don't feel like the city did anything differently for recruitment. A lot of it is word of mouth. I did hear from like a good handful of individuals that said, my friend works there and I want to work there too.
Sure.
And that was, I think, a big thing this year. People are just happy to come back.
I would just say in general, we do still have trouble getting seasonal staff.
Sure.
But people want to work at the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So the
love
beach is a
environment.
popular location to work. Some of our other positions have been harder to fill.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
We saw the revenue side. Is there, does this pay for all the lifeguards, or is it not enough?
It does not pay for all the lifeguards. It definitely helps, and our grant helps to kind of offset some of that. But no, we have to budget additionally for our lifeguards and all the training.
And is this the full revenue or the Minnetonka share? This is the full revenue?
This is the full revenue, and then we do, with Hopkins, this is a
Right.
joint program, so it's 1/3, 2/3, so this is full.
The concession revenue increase is pretty impressive over time. And just out of curiosity, I don't know what the right word would be to use, but how often is there a save situation?
I would say, I mean, this year, at least for lifeguards having to save somebody in the water, there were probably about 5 or 6 saves of like a person yelling for help, somebody actively drowning. And then there are typically maybe once a week a missing person because a parent doesn't know their child walked off. So when you hear we can't find their child, we just have to activate that immediately and do worst case scenario. And typically they're found within 3 minutes. But again, the lifeguards are like, well, we're going to get in the water and start checking right away.
Great.
But
Okay.
it was down this year from what it was. I think we were closed on and off because of all the rain.
Yeah.
So when it's the busier, you don't have the rain, it's that heat. There are more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
what sounds like a great first year
Yeah,
in the
it was
role.
great. Thank you so much.
In future years, I would ask kind of like what you were asking about to see the cost side as well. In the past, we've seen kind of the profit loss each year, and just to know that it's staying under control and on budget. That bit of profit loss would be good to see.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll
So
wait.
thank you.
We'll mark that down. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you again. If there's no other comments or questions, we can move on to business item C, consideration of pickleball lines.
Thanks, Chair. We're going to turn it over to Matt Kumka to talk about the consideration of pickleball lines at Oberlin Park.
Thank you so much. So pickleball continues to grow in popularity and attract a lot of interest throughout the city. Through the Parks Open Space and Trails plan, we identified the need to try to locate additional pickleball courts throughout the city. So we've been making an effort to do that as much as possible. We do receive occasional inquiries from residents regarding existing parks and whether or not pickleball would be appropriate at these existing tennis courts. We've recently received some communications regarding Oberlin Park. It's on the north side of town, north of 394 up there. There are 2 existing tennis courts on site there. These courts aren't scheduled currently to be resurfaced or repainted. They're in generally good condition. So to consider pickleball in this area, our traditional process would be to host an open house, send out mailers related to the folks nearby the park, and propose a variety of options in terms of pickleball net sizes and the striping possibilities on the existing footprint. So we currently don't have this budgeted at this point, and there's no scheduled repair that would sort of trigger this process. So the question tonight is whether we want to jumpstart that process potentially and look into Oberlin Park as a potential for restriping for pickleball and go through that process with the public sooner rather than later.
And can you give us some idea of how much extra is that, and from which budget line would that come? And so on?
So there's a variety of sort of permutations as to whether or not we would create pure pickleball with the regulated net height and the stripe lines associated with it. We've presented a variety of options where there's pickleball on either side, and the pickleballers have to use the tennis height. So we get a sort of a variety of preferences, and they range in cost. So I think Darren can answer that a little better.
And there's also the cost of open house and,
Yeah, well, time,
Mailers
staff, and yes.
Yeah.
So as far as cost, the open house stuff of that is pretty negligible, not really much of a consideration. Just depends on the scenario. The first step would be to do a neighborhood meeting and get the feedback from the neighborhood of what was a desire. If go in the line of what we did down at Reich Park this summer, we just have pickleball lines, use the existing tennis nets. That's maybe $2,000 to $3,000. We could just pay for that out of our operating budget. But if there's desire for dedicated pickleball nets on either one or both courts, then we got to tear out the nets that are there, redo the color coatings, and you'd get rid of the tennis colors and then put in pickleball colors. So that would be for one court probably in the neighborhood of $20,000 maybe, and then if two courts, double that. So that's just a ballpark without a detailed look into the cost. But so $20,000 to $40,000 would be about the most. And if it was that type of project, then that's something we would probably put into a CIP to set aside that amount of money for a bigger project.
Have people been kind of happy with like the minimal changes, like the first option you talked about, which is kind of redoing the lines and like not redoing everything on the court? Like, are people been usually pretty happy with the way those things turn out?
So Wright Park that we did this summer is the first we've done in the city.
Okay.
We were down there a few weeks ago, and there's people playing. They really liked it.
My son's played it a couple times, but it's only been ready for a couple weeks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
okay.
really in the
about a month,
infancy of
yeah.
But
finding out whether
people are digging
like
it. And
We do hear pushback of
Yeah.
the purists that don't like the couple-inch higher net. So we
Sure.
do hear that initially, but we are
Tennis
seeing
is higher?
tennis is
Yeah.
higher.
Oh,
Correct. Yeah,
okay.
tennis is higher.
2 inches taller than
Okay.
the pickleball net.
but like your average pickleball player is cool with it. So
the recreational one.
yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, oh, sorry, you go ahead.
I was just thinking, when a court's in terrible shape like that one was, all options can be on the table because we're already budgeting to resurface the whole thing anyway, right? When when the court's in good shape and we don't have the budget for it, maybe the conversation is more limited in scope about the options that we could do in the near term, like painting only. If it's in good shape, why spend money on completely redoing the court? But I was wondering if you all had a recommendation for this situation.
I appreciate what you're saying. I think it would make sense in this scenario, personally at least, to not tear those nets out and replace them, being the expense of that. We would still want to go through the open house process because beyond the pickleball considerations, parking and traffic, and then the noise associated with pickleball, we would need to make all the nearby residents aware of that,
Yeah.
those concerns, and give them a chance to provide feedback. So we would still want to do that process, but I think our recommendation might be stripe the courts as is with that net height.
And that was the intention of the request, too. I mean, the person requesting is comfortable with that. I think Kay's point's good, which is if you're in the process of doing a major rehaul, then you really need to take a look. But for right now, it would seem like the restriping, if the neighborhood is open to the pickleball, would seem like a easy way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just kind of depends on what that neighborhood feedback is, right? If they largely would be the recreational style and add lines, and they just want to be able to play something, that's pretty easy to do. If you get
considerable amount of feedback of, no, we want dedicated court, that's fine, we'll take that information, but then we'd have to kind of we would bring back a summary to the park board at that time and then make a decision on where to go from there. So really, it's just the first step is just to if we want to facilitate the conversation, get the feedback, and then determine next steps.
And in the meeting, I'm assuming you'd express that we can realign it on this date, timeline, but if you want to have a purist approach, it's going to go through a capital project and be out this timeline.
Correct.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I'm all for the community engagement and talking to the neighborhood. I wrote down noise and traffic because I know that's come up before. So yeah, letting them kind of share what they're thinking. But I think, yeah, anything to get people outside doing stuff. So I think that's a great idea. So yeah, I'm all for starting that process.
I assume no vote is needed.
Nope, we're just getting some feedback tonight.
Since this is pickleball, I'm curious, do we have any feedback or insight into how what used to be called Big
Thrill Factory.
Big Thrill Factory's pickleball is doing, how that's doing? Do we know at all?
I don't have any insight on it. I'm curious too.
I was just there this past weekend because
Yeah.
my son signed up for a tournament there. They have 10 courts inside. It's beautiful. My son's gotten to know the owner, so I think we could find out, how strong business
Yeah,
is.
it'd just be interesting to
But,
know the usage.
Yeah, I know that the high school pickleball club now is going to practice there in the winter, so they got a little partnership going with the community, and I think, based on what I saw, the place was
Okay.
full and thriving on a weekend.
Good.
All right, does anyone else have any feedback or?
No, I agree, proceed, and if it's appropriate to express an opinion, I'd go for the double striping, the budget version.
Excellent.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. All right, moving on to reports from staff. Any information items?
All right, we've got 2 information items tonight, and I'll turn it back over to Matt to go over these.
So based on the feedback and the sort of the wrap-up of the Purgatory Park Master Plan, we identified some low-hanging fruit, some tasks that we could implement immediately. One of those being new, clear, and concise park signage related to the off-leash dogs in the park. So working with Darren and staff, we've created new, very simple signs that outline where off-leash dogs are not allowed, the trails and the parking areas. We removed language that was confusing related to maintained or unmaintained areas. That language is now gone, and those signs are up in the park. A number of them are up already, and we'll be putting additional ones up in the near future here.
Thank you.
And then when in this do we get to hear about what the city council's doing as far as the ordinance?
I can talk about that now if you'd like.
Yeah.
So in your upcoming meeting schedule, you'll see that on November 6th, you will review park regulations. And at that time, you're going to see the park regulations regarding dogs and also cannabis in public spaces. So what happens is an ordinance change or a new ordinance is introduced to the council, and the cannabis was actually introduced this week, 2 days ago on Monday. So then that's now on Minnetonka Matters for public input. And then the council will be introduced to the changes to the to the citywide and park regulation ordinance changes as they pertain to dogs on October 28th. And then you will get to review those proposed changes at your next November meeting. Well, that's still open to the public for public comment. There will not be public comment taken at the park board level for either of those, because you have already heard all of those comments.
We have
So there will be
heard a
no
lot.
public comment regarding those, but we want to get your feedback on what the proposed changes are. And then that will be given back to council in mid-November. So that will go back to council. The cannabis and the dog regulations will go back to council mid-November. They will take public input at that time. And then the next step is to adopt the changed ordinance.
So to make sure I understand, there will be citywide or dog ordinance, and then a specific park flavor.
Regulation.
Correct.
with
You will see the park,
regulations.
at park board level, you'll see those pertaining to the parks, park
Okay.
regulations. Yep. And then
And they may be different, possibly.
The language is different in both of them. You can see, once it's introduced to the council at the end of October, you'll get to see both of them if you're interested in what the citywide one looks like.
I am.
So, yep.
October 28th?
Yes. Any more questions on that? Okay. Matt, there was also the general park signage information item that I'll throw back to you.
Yep. So we are currently installing new park entry monument signs. So you'll see some new excavations near many of our large parks. They're going to be essentially a stone veneer base with what's called a cabinet top. There'll be that Minnetonka blue color, and they'll have the park title on them. They're very crisp and clean. There have been renderings that have been shown to the park board in the past. So finally, those are going in the ground, and we'll be all wrapped up before we get too cold for concrete.
That's not all 50 parks, right?
It's a number
Just the
of
big ones?
parks, yes, mostly the big ones, and the signs have various sizes. So the community parks like Purgatory is larger than the neighborhood parks, which are a little more rectangular, upright rather than horizontal.
Okay.
And we're also getting additional park rules signs, which are on hold at this point based on the dog ordinance conversation. So those will come over the winter, and they'll be installed next spring at this point.
So regarding the park ordinances, the city council doesn't want any feedback from us early on? They're just going to do it themselves?
Correct. So staff, there's an internal team that's done some work on edits to the ordinance, and then that's how it gets introduced to the
Okay.
council.
But it's, from what you said, that's a good question. It sounded like we're not taking public comment at our meeting, but we are seeing the ordinance and can comment on the ordinance at our
You
meeting.
can give us feedback about
Yeah.
what the changes that are proposed are, and then we can in turn give that to council and say, this is what the park board, what their comments were.
Okay, that's right, that's
Yep.
right.
May I make some now?
Have you seen the ordinance?
Yeah, I mean,
No, I haven't.
I mean, I
but
think you could wait to see it and then make your comments would probably be the best.
I'll try to restrain myself. Okay.
I mean, we heard so much feedback and we have a good direction.
Since we're on signs, it just popped into my head. What's the word for the Lone Lake, the big interpretive signs, what are you going to call those, interpretive signs? Where are we? They're still not up, are they?
At Lone Lake, we've held off on those interpretive signs at Lone Lake.
So that's still under discussion? It is? Wow.
Yep. We were working with Friends for
Right.
some review, and we've essentially held off with the anticipation of Lone Lake master planning,
Oh,
similar to the Purgatory
Okay.
Park, which is going to kick off an interpretation process. We're delayed based on that.
it's a good thing you built those strong signs, Darren.
Those have all been
Bases.
pulled out, but we
Oh,
did,
they
we
were taken
repurposed
out?
them. We did put up other signs, or some we still use. We put up 2 at the Marsh, 1 or 2
Civic
at
Center,
the
yeah.
Civic Center by
Yeah.
the soccer field, or going towards the creek by the bridge. I think we put 2 up over there, so we've
Okay.
repurposed some of them and made them work, so at least we got some signage up, just not at Lone Lake.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
move on to upcoming meeting schedule.
Yep, so as we discussed, November, we'll see the park regulation ordinance review. And then we've got the appointment of chair and vice chair. We've got some people leaving the board here in the next year, and there will be other items on too as well. Those are just the ones we have now. And then other meetings and activities in the next month or so. We have sauna in the parks, so swing by Shady Oak Beach and check out the new sauna. The city now owns a new sauna that is open for, we'll call it ticket. You buy a ticket to take a sauna for an hour and a half. It's open weekends, October through April. We started selling the tickets about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, and we had our first session last weekend. It's been really warm. It's not sauna season yet. So actually, some people got excited and bought them and then said, wait, no, I want to change it to later in the fall. But it's a beautiful sauna, and it's going to be a popular program. We were advertising it last night at the open house, and we had a lot of questions and inquiries, and people are really excited about it. So, and actually, one person who had done it last weekend, one of our first customers, came over and said she really enjoyed it. So, if you don't want a cold plunge in really cold weather, sign up now. So, and then we have the Burwell Spooktacular at the end of the month on the 25th, and we have a Jigsaw Jamboree in November 2nd, and then we have 2 indoor farmers markets yet this year in November and December. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Chair.
Okay. Park board member reports. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share? Well, if no one has anything they'd like to share, we can move on to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Thank you.
guys.
Half an hour.
Thank you for a fit meeting.
Yes, thank you, sir.